Greetings, kindred spirits. Wow, I can't believe how quick this new moon cycle's come around to the full moon. It's just gone so quick. But anyway, here we are. So, for the rest of this year, it's going to be pretty busy. I would say more busy. It's been very intense, but I think this moon gives us a little bit of a break, compared to what we've been going through this year energetically. I feel this moon is, a little bit of the calm before the storm. So the full moon will reach its peak in Aries in the true lifetime sky on the 31st of October, Halloween, at 14:49 in the GMT time zone, at 10:49 in the EDT time zone, and on the 1st of November at 1:49 in the AEDT time zone. So our moon will be at 9 degrees in Aries and in conjunction to Uranus, who's in retrograde, and Uranus will be at 10 degrees. So this definitely represents an end of a cycle, and that can occur really suddenly and without warning. As with all full moons, our sun will be in opposition, but also conjunct the goddess Juno, who has been under a lot of pressure the last few years, to let go of her need to be needed. In astrology, traditionally the goddess Juno is the goddess of marriage and the marriage partner. She is the goddess that is dedicated, loyal and committed when it comes to family traditions. And I've told this story many times, but in mythology, she was actually the wife of Jupiter and was very much taken for granted. Her circumstances weren't what she had expected, and she did everything that she could to hold that relationship together, even at the expense of her own health and happiness. So Juno is also the goddess that rules the domestic traditional values. So with our moon conjunct Uranus and our sun conjunct the goddess Juno, I see that there could be some disruptions or sudden endings on the home front, when it comes to our commitments or our relationships. And our sun will be at 0 degrees in Libra, and the goddess Juno will be at 5 degrees. And that does show that whatever comes to light at this time will bring in a sudden change of heart when it comes to our relationships and commitments. Maybe it could be realizations or disclosures that are likely to occur throughout this next moon cycle. And that may leave many feeling a little bit shell-shocked, whilst for others it might be a relief, just to know what it is, putting our finger on it, because there's been a lot of confusion and distortion when it comes to our thinking or our thinking patterns. The energies have just been so intense, and this has actually been going on for a couple of years anyway. So the moon in Aries does heighten our energy levels, although Mars, the ruler of Aries, is still retrograding through Pisces right now, which can make this particular moon a bit of a drama queen. So it's important that we use this energy wisely, because although for some it could bring in closure to certain situations, in others it could bring in sudden realizations of our true feelings, especially if we have been keeping them buried through a fear of surrendering to them. this is definitely not a tongue-biting time. Acceptance can often be the most hardest thing to do because it requires a surrendering to the inevitable, whether that be in relationships or just in life itself. That's why it's so important that we align with our own inner peace rather than to look for it externally. Especially with the Aryan energy, because the Aryan energy, it can be a case of easy come and easy go. We must not be too rash when it comes to making decisions that are important. We also have a T-square at the full moon with the black moon Lilith at 2 degrees in Aries, in opposition to Mercury, who is currently retrograding through Virgo at 32 degrees. And both of them are in square to Saturn, who's at 29 degrees in Sagittarius. So with this grand aspect, it is definitely a case of our actions being louder than our words, since this aspect affects our thoughts and inhibits our ability to communicate or express ourselves in an appropriate way. And since the black moon Lilith is just within reach of an opposition with our sun in Libra, our thoughts can tend to feel a little bit dark or obsessive. And in this instance, it may be difficult for some to, take responsibility for their own actions, or take responsibility for the vibe that they are creating energetically. Oh, and by the way, happy birthday, Libras. So the sun actually moves into Libra at the full moon. So I will include in my newsletter and on Facebook, it's an extract from Walter Berg's 13 Signs of the Zodiac. So I always stick up an extract involving each star sign season. I'm sure most of you have felt the energies lift or heighten over the last few days, especially since we have had some very deep and intense moon cycles over the last few months or so. And that is partly because of the black moon Lilith's transit out of Pisces, and partly because Mars is coming to the end of his retrograde in Pisces. Which means, that he is beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel, where he will get a certain amount of his power back, although he won't be 100% back in his power until he transits into his own sign of Aries, and that will be around the 4th of January 2021. And that will be where he begins his new journey around our sun. So it's a new cycle for Mars. So at present, Mars is transiting closest to the Earth. So his essence is strongly felt at this time. The good thing is that he is in sextile to the moon's north node, which is helping him to recognize the opportunities coming in when it comes to his recovery or release from the depth of his gloom or his inadequacies. But like they say, the last mile is always the hardest, and in square to the goddess Pallas, he can be pretty impatient when it comes to getting his own way or in hurrying things up, which can lead him into impulsive action. Mars's retrograde won't actually end until the 14th of November, but his sextile to the North Node will still be ongoing, up until that point anyway. So there are some lessons for him to still learn at this time. Mercury will end his retrograde on the 3rd of November, but he will still be in post-shadow until the 19th of November, when he returns to 3 degrees in Libra, which was his retrograde starting point. So his post-shadow will be in effect until after the new moon on the 16th of November. So, we may still feel or experience his retrograde energy until that time. His retrograde energy has been very strong this year, more so than normal, and I think that's because of all the other planetary activities that have been occurring this year. It's been quite an unusual year for sure when it comes to rare planetary alignments. So it's likely that our minds will still be overloaded and, there still will be a lack of direction, just for a little while longer. We have the 3rd and final conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto taking place on the 12th of November. And this conjunction is all about leadership. And it can also be very ego triggering. This conjunction only occurs every 12 to 13 years. So the last one that took place was in 2007. Again, that was in the sign of Sagittarius. So I think we can use 2007 as a marker of the energy this aspect creates. The one before that occurred in 1994, and that took place in the sign of Libra. And, the next one will occur in 2033 in the sign of Capricorn. So this aspect initiates a great change when it comes to our great establishments, organisations, the economy, and traditional values for either the good or the bad. But this particular conjunction between them both is a lot more serious because of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that we had in January, and that one only occurs around every 38 years. And then we have the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that takes place on the 21st of December, and that only occurs every 20 years. So we can see, just from these conjunctions alone, just how significant 2020 has been when it comes to all things that are associated with these 3 planets, like religion, politics, the world's economy, establishments, etc., our leaderships, our governments. But I did do a podcast on the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January, so I won't go too much into that here. But the last one that occurred in Virgo in 1983, which brought about, genetic engineering and a world of statistics and databases, So in Sagittarius, it's all about traditional values, religion, organisations, and the truth of them. So I really do feel this December will be quite mind-blowing, quite a mind-blowing month. And it will be a finale to this year's madness. There will be a T-square formation on the day of the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, where power struggles could get out of hand, or where we can give our power away due to a lack of self-esteem. So this year really is about balance, bringing balance into our relationships, with ourselves and with other people as a collective. The Ophiuchus serpent energy is still the underlying force. but her essence will emerge fully throughout her season, which is December, up until December the 19th, or the 18th actually. And that is just before the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that takes place on the 21st of December. So, many awakenings will be taking place on a much larger scale from here onwards. So, we must keep the faith and be ready. Peace and much love.